Welcome to Fighting to Recover, the podcast where stories of struggle meet stories of strength. I'm your host, Jamie Edwards, and this show is about real people, real pain, and real recovery. From the chaos of addiction to the clarity of healing, through boxing, through connection, and through truth. Whether you're in recovery, curious about it, or just here to understand, you're in the right place. In today's episode, we dive into what it's like being in recovery at a young age when most people around you are older, and how ketamine is tearing through our younger generation. We hear firsthand what it's like to grow up in addiction, the damage caused by ketamine, and what healing and even boxing looks like on the other side. This one's going to be honest, raw and real, so let's get into it. So, Charlie, thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, mate.
I really wanted to get you on straight away because there's not a lot of people young in recovery, and just with your experience with ketamine, I think it's because it's quite a new drug and people don't realise the damage that it's causing and how quick your body deteriorates. So it'd be good to get some information off you and your story. So first question is basically, who are you and where did your story begin?
Yeah, so my name is Charlie Rayner-Jones. My recovery story sort of began, obviously, I was a ketamine addict for about 7 years. Started obviously when I was about 16, 17. Just started off just having a few drinks, like going camping, going up the mountains, just going to the house parties and that. And then like all my friends started to experiment with drugs. And I was dead against it to start. Like I hated the idea of it all. Just really wasn't me. Then obviously as you get a bit older, everyone's sort of doing it, is the pressure sort of sets in there, and then so I tried, like, smoked a little joint from the first drug I took, was like a little bit of weed. Really liked it right from the start, basically, so started smoking that after a while, and then obviously the natural progression then is as you're getting older, like turning 18, everyone's going out clubbing and trying the harder drugs. So I think I first took cat when I was 17. And from there, it was like instant, just boom. From there, it was every weekend. And then it started being like twice on the weekend, 3 times, midweek, and that. And it quickly took control over me. But I didn't actually get hooked on it for like a couple of years. I was just doing it on the weekends and maybe once through the week. But like, it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years after using it that it became daily. It was one of them, like you sort of escape everything when you use them, don't you? So
yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been in addiction where either running away from something, or if you're struggling with like ADHD, people take drugs to slow their brain down, or just not being able to control your emotions. So you were quite young, started when taking your first drugs, and I feel with ketamine for you was maybe what cocaine was like for me. Once I'd tried a few things before that, but once I tried that one, that was, for me, I liked how that felt. I don't really think ketamine was about then. Like I've done quite a bit of ketamine, but I'm more in prison. Out of prison, it was always beer and cocaine. That that was they say drug of no choice. We all get that one. That that's you. Once you first take it, you're like, yes, I like how this makes me feel,
doesn't it?
Yeah. So what role do you think like your environment played in your addiction, like your school and your friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, so massive. Like obviously, like from home, like I was always dead against drugs because like my family's a bit of like a party family. Do you know what I mean? They always have been. They've always liked to drink, and like growing up, I realised that they did like a bit of drugs as well here and there. Like, but so that's what sort of pushed it against me, like pushed me away from it. I didn't like the idea of it because I'd seen it growing up. But obviously then the environment changes, schools start hanging around with different groups and they're all doing it, and then you don't want to sort of feel like the odd one out. That's what it was for me, at least. I didn't want to feel like the odd one out anymore. I was sick of it. So I just tried it, and then you know what it's like once
that's what I felt like when I got into recovery.
Yeah,
everyone that I used to associate with thought I was the weird one because I didn't want to use anymore. Yeah. And that's literally the generation that we're in, is we drink to infinity or we use to infinity. And if you're not out using, or someone offers you a key or something in the toilet and you say no, you're the weird one for saying no. And I think that pressure is what starts a lot of people off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that.
So what was it like being young and addicted whilst basically everyone else is starting off in life? You know, you should be starting off in life and if you're being addicted to a substance because you're a really intelligent lad. You know, like we had a little joke over message the other day about, you know, running around in a suit and tie, doing your little bits and stuff. It's just mad. It's just like, you know, you're starting off in a really, really good job there that you can't, not anybody can just do that job. You have to have a certain set of skills to be an accountant. I couldn't do it. But then having that addiction, you know, when everyone else is starting off in life and you're kind of stuck in the mud there.
Yeah. So obviously, like school, I was always quite academic, like especially with maths. Yeah, I've always been like unreal at maths. I don't know how or why, but I just always have. My dad used to get me like maths books when I was like 4 or 5, and I was doing like 7 to 8 like year books when I was 4 and 5. So like I always knew that I loved it. I used to love Sudokus and that with my nine.
See, my mum used to give me Sudokus when I'd been naughty.
Yeah, that was
She put me in my room and it just wouldn't bother me as happy being by myself. So I'd have to get ungrounded. I'd have to finish a set of all the Sudokus and I hated it.
Yeah, so obviously like school did really well, GCSEs, and then went on to my A levels, done my maths, smashed maths at A level as well. Did business, psychology, and maths, but like I smashed maths, got really good grade for maths. So then I was like, I didn't apply for uni to do maths at uni in Liverpool, but because my like business and psychology let me down, I didn't get in. But from there, I was like, what jobs can I do that's going to involve maths? So I looked it up, and accountancy was on there, and obviously it's quite a really good high paid job once you get fully qualified and that. So I went to college and studied AAT, which is like basically accountancy is a course for that, and straight into like an apprenticeship then with a company called Kais, which is now with Rehab, which is obviously like probably the leading drug and alcohol charity in North Wales. Like, so it was quite ironic how I went from
working for them, to kind of not yet,
being a resident,
yeah.
7 years down the line, I went from being employed to being a resident out there at the Rehab.
Because you see a lot of people that have had a lot of recovery time that do tend to go work, when they go on to work and recovery is with Rehab. You know, they employ a lot of. So I think, you know, like you were saying, you can have book smarts to do some jobs, and then, you know, you do kind of need that little bit of life experience. If we were going to try and give advice to someone and we'd never been through addiction, you're probably going to say not listen to them, like, what do you know if you know?
Yeah.
But then when you've got someone that's been through it, got clean, you know, you can take on board what they're saying because they know how you feel. And, you know, as addicts, we kind of go, oh, you don't know how I feel, my story, you know, we all think we're special ones, or we all think we're different, but it doesn't matter kind of what drugs we're taking, we're all you know, we all got the same goal of getting clean and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that's important to mention Penryn as well. You're probably going to mention that at some point. Yes, that's where we met and that. But Penryn, like the beauty of Penryn House is that everyone, including the staff there, have been through it. So you can't go there and say, oh, you don't know what I'm going through. You've never been there, because they have.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with like a lot of places, is if they were genuine just staff there that had never been through what we've been through, then you wouldn't talk to them, or you maybe wouldn't be able to open up as much, which brings me on to my next question is, did people take your addiction seriously when you first realised you were an addict and you were telling people? Because when I first said to people, oh, I'm going to try and go to recovery because I think I'm an addict, and people didn't take it serious. So how was that for you?
Yeah, so I think I got like people coming up to me, like close friends, family, saying I'm doing it too much, and that quite often before I realised. So I think everyone else sort of realised before me. But I think that one of the differences with cocaine and cat, like cocaine, you can sort of still do your things, or you can still
you can function.
Your health doesn't take that much of a hit. But with me, I went from being like, I was like 80 kilos, going gym all the time, smashing my training, looking well, looking full, to like a week later just being like skinny, seeing my ribs, everything, just face looking so drawn, just because like I've been on a serious like binge over the course of the week, not eating, not training, not sleeping, and just doing an unreal amount of cat. Like, so it had that effect on me, both physically and mentally, but people could tell. but I was the only one that couldn't tell. I thought I was still normal because I was just in cloud cookie land, you know what I mean? So, but like when I did sort of finally realise was I'd tried to move into my dad's to detox, didn't work. I relapsed there and got kicked out. I tried it at my mum's, didn't work because I was just out in the pub, you know what I mean, to my local and from the backhand, so I was just out every night without fail. But then, like, I remember my uncle, this is what sits with me because it's what sort of woke me up. Yeah, I was outside the pub one night, I was finishing a night out, and it was me, my mum, and my uncle. And my uncle goes to me like, "You know what your problem is?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "You need a holiday." I was like, "Yeah, don't I fucking know it? Of course I do." He's like, "No, I don't mean that." It's like, "You need to go away on holiday." I was like, "What does he mean?" I didn't have a clue what he meant. He was sitting with me, I was like, "Of course I need a holiday," but I didn't know what he meant, yeah. Anyway, a few weeks later, the same situation, me and him outside the pub again, and he was like, "Have you thought any more about what I said about needing a holiday?" I was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to Thailand." It's raining, it's raining. He was like, "No, you need to go to fucking rehab." I was like, "Rehab? Are you mad? Like, do a fuck? I don't need rehab." It's like, if I wanted to come off it all, I could, like that, yeah. Obviously, just
I think that's the thing is we all think that, and I always associated rehab with people that are heroin addicts that are injecting and stuff like that, and you don't realise, you know, with especially with the party drugs and like what you were saying with the ketamine, with cocaine, you can be on that for 10, 15 years, and I think, you know, the damage that ketamine does to your body. You know, I've seen people go from 1 year and they're needing to have shit bags.
Yep.
They can't go to the toilet anymore. They can't hold in a wee. They're pissing blood, like the deterioration. And you know, even though you know what's happening to you, you're still taking it. So I think, you know, as well, holiday to me, as we used to say, "Oh, go on holiday." That would mean to prison, but you know, I suppose rehab's its own little prison. No, I haven't been to rehab myself, but you know, I seen what it done for you, and I remember you coming into recovery, and I was ahead of you. In time, and you know, you were saying, "Oh, I want to get be like Jamie," and then obviously I went on a relapse, and then now it's the tables have turned. But that's the powerful thing about recovery is, and no one thinks they're better than anyone. You know, and you know that's sort of priceless. But yeah, I always remember when we went to watch you fight, and you came out to Amy Winehouse to try to make me go to rehab. Every time I hear that song, I always think of you.
Yeah.
So my next question is, was there any moments in recovery where you felt like you didn't belong because of your age? Because for me personally, when I was so happy to see you in recovery. You know, when my wife was in recovery, we weren't obviously together at the time, and we were the only two young people in recovery, and you know, there wasn't as much youth in it. So then when you came in, and then you liked the fighting and boxing and stuff as well, and you know, since then, you know, with people seeing us get clean, people can see that it's all right to get clean. You know what I mean? And I think people are waking up to it now. As where I reckon the average age was over 40. So when I first got into recovery, and sometimes I did feel like a spare part, like I like the kids of the group, or like I didn't have as much because I didn't use as long as a lot of the people. I felt like, oh, I'm different to all these. Maybe I don't need to get into recovery yet, but I did feel like a spare part sometimes. Did you ever feel like that?
Yeah, so like even from because I went to detox Arkham Place in Lancashire, Chorley, and I was like the youngest by like a long way. Like I think the youngest after me was probably about 35, or so I was 24 at the time, but like the average age was at least 40, like all the way up. So there was a fella there that was like 70 or so, like, and it was only a group of like 12 to 14, so you're like visibly the youngest, but like, cause I was so engaged with what I was doing in the rehab, and I was so like focused and determined on getting clean, it wasn't really a problem for me, like, but same with rehab, I was the youngest there again, same sort of pattern, and then came to Penryn. I was quite fortunate coming to Penryn and you being there, because like, had you not been there, then it would have been the exact same sort of situation, everyone older. And I'm quite a social person. I can I can make friends with anyone, doesn't matter how old, what gender they are, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
What common interests we've got all known. I
you find something, I think that's with you being a mathematician and a fighter, like there's kind of there's no boundaries of you can find. So I've always found that with you, you know, you can find some sort of, but I think that's what recovery teaches you when you go in. You're looking at all the differences. I was like, oh, I'm younger than all these. I haven't used as long. Their lives are a lot more fucked up than mine. As where the more clean time you get, you start looking at the similarities. Then you know you start having similarities with ex-heroin addicts and stuff. But as where when you first go in, you're like, oh, at least I don't take heroin. I'm not that bad, or you know, and it just the more clean time you get, the better it is. And I do think it, like you're saying, it helps you be able to have them conversations. And you need to, especially if you're living in somewhere like Penryn, where you know, you're on lockdown for the first few months. You're not allowed to leave without someone. If you're not a very sociable person, I find them people there, they don't last very long. You know, like recovery it's a social thing, isn't it? It's social. You go in there and you have to lose all your old friends, and then you realise they're more associates. Because I used to think I was such a popular lad. I used to hang around with everyone, and since I got clean, I don't bother with any of them. The only people I bother with is that come to my boxing gym, to my classes, or people that are in recovery. I know I can't go and hang around with people that go for drinks and stuff, because it only takes for me to have a bad day to be straight back into that. You know, it happened to me once. I had a bad day, had a relapse, and it lasted for a while. It lasted for 3-4 months. So you have to still try and be social. And that's where you have to find the similarities.
So I'm quite fortunate as well with my mates. Like, even though right from when I went away on my little holiday, most of them were like dead supportive about it, because they'd been like, we weren't as close. We were falling out sort of thing with like my real friends, not the associates, like you said. My real friends now, they didn't want to be around me, lad, because like I was just a mess. I was lying to them.
Can't be nice for them to see as well.
No, exactly. And I was just lying to them, constantly trying to borrow money so I could get more, do you know what I mean? And just like it gets to the point where you take them a piss. And like, they don't want to see that. So like I was barely seeing any of them in that. So like when I went away, they were like buzzing for me, even though I came back and realised that like some of my closest friends and like closest like family members were like thinking he's gonna come back and just relapse. Like they didn't have the faith for me.
It's that always once an addict, always an addict. Once a liar, always a liar. Once a thief, always a thief.
Exactly. So for me, and like I got advised in rehab not to go to the pub when I got home, but like for me, that's like Sunbeck's tiny, you know.
It's a little bit of
nothing to do there. There's nothing at all for us to do there. So like everyone just goes to the pub whether they're drinking or not. So I was like, I can't not go. So I have all my friends or all my family are. So I was like, the night I got home from rehab, I just went there, got a J2O and that. But I think that built my sort of tolerance up to it, because I think if I personally would have avoided it for so long, when I did finally go back there, which was inevitable, because you know what I mean, my mates
put it so left on a pedestal.
Exactly, I would have went there and be like, oh, it's too much, and then potentially picked her. So like, don't get me wrong, I've had moments when I've been in there and I was like, I really want to use, like, never cat. I've not had a single craving for cat, which is an absolute miracle. Like, but like the craving to have a drink or like have a little joint or something whenever I started.
That's the thing. If you ended up having a couple of drinks, you know, it's not you were an alcoholic. Then you probably would end up getting
you just can't say whether you would or not, can you? Like, no, I'm not willing to take that risk, mate. I'm not willing to be back there. I was inches away from bladder gone, do you know what I mean? Life ruined.
And the thing is, being so young as well, you'd have to live the rest of your life on them decisions you made in that short amount of time. That you've got to live with that then for the rest of your life, and you're an active lad, and you know you're into your kickboxing and your boxing and stuff like that, and you've been fighting for titles, and you know there'd have been none of that, you know. So I think it's really good that you've not had any cravings for it. You know, I get my days where I'm like, you know, like today it's really hot outside. It's been nice to a couple of Copperbergs today, but I just play the tape forwards and then know exactly, you know exactly where it's going to go. I've had a couple of times where me and my wife were a few weeks clean, well, about a month and a half clean, and we went to a pub for food, and we were both itching for a drink, and we'd be left before
Just gotta get out of it.
the food even came, you know.
Yeah.
So just got to pull yourself out of them.
Yeah. But like that's the thing. If you haven't been in recovery, you won't know to do that. You won't even be aware of that.
I don't know your own triggers,
Exactly.
your own feelings and stuff.
Yeah, and there's like them seemingly irrelevant decisions. Like one thing that I learned at Penryn is like I used to take my dog for a walk, yeah, and I'd go one or two routes. I'd come down, deliberately go past the pub, or like go the complete other way. And like depending on how I was feeling that day, this is when I was still using, yeah. So like depending on whether I wanted to like. If I'd had a stressful day or if I'd been arguing at home.
Hoping you bump into some of your mates.
I'm not even that, mate. There wouldn't need to be anyone in there. I'm like, oh, Gracie, my dog, like, Gracie, do you need some water? Yeah, and I'll be ordering a whiskey and that. And then, you know what I mean? It was just like mental, but like little things like that. Like I was determined the rest of mine evening at that point, whether I went that route or that route. That's it. It's the same goes in recovery now. Like if I'm having a shit day and I'm feeling down, I will avoid the pub at all costs because I know that if I do go there, that's me trying to find a way of making it.
I think that's on your part is like a lot of maturity.
Yes, definitely.
I've done it, you know, like as now with the pubs I used to drink in, we'll walk all the way around it. I'll add an extra 15, 20 minutes on to our journey as where like I would walk past just hoping that there'd be, you know, I was only when I was a few weeks clean and stuff, and I hoping that I see someone outside that I knew and I'll just go over, say hello, and you know, you need that one little invitation, or like you saying, having that little bit of a stressful day can determine not even just that night because it turns into a bender desire.
And that 15, 20 minutes that you're adding onto a journey saving you 15, 20 years of your life.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Right, so I want to go on to the effects of ketamine, and I'll just have a recap of when did ketamine come into your life?
Yeah, so like I said, it came in when I was 17, 18, started using. Didn't have any problems with it for 4 or 5 years until I was about 21, 22. That's when it was like heavy. No, I tell a lie. I had beef when I was 19. Yeah, 19. And I experienced cat cramps for the first time. Yeah, which is basically, from my understanding, when you've had way too much of stuff and it all starts crystallizing or whatever in your insides and everything gets hard to pass through, so you get all like bloated and you get this extreme pain in your stomach. Like I can't explain it. Like hands down the worst pain in my life. Do you know what I mean? Broken bones, being glassed in the face. Like there was nothing like that. It's horrible. So but from that, I didn't use the nenext day, and then it went away, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Didn't sort of come back, so I wasn't worried about it then. So I was like, I'm down now, I can use again. But then obviously I'd lost a couple of jobs at this point, so like I wasn't working, I was grafting, do you know what I mean? So I just had loads of it there, so I was just constant. I wasn't even sure how much I was doing at this point, do you know what I mean? But I was just doing it the second I woke up to the second I went to sleep. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and use again to get back to sleep, you know what I mean? So
using to stay awake and then using to sleep. It's a cycle.
Yeah, but then I think like the pain and problems, like they're quite consistent sorted. I think when I was 21, 22, it's a bit of a blur, lad, I won't lie. Like I feel like I've lived more of my life in the last 17 months of recovery than I did in that 7 years of addiction, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I can't remember much of the last 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Little blimps.
I know they're bits, and they all seem to be like bad things. I don't remember any of the good times.
No, I don't know what, because that probably wasn't. No, there was good times and stuff. You know, when you're on the first night and everyone's having a good time, but then everyone goes home and you know, you can't let it go and stuff. And you know, then that session, depression always comes and kicks in, and it's chasing that high and stuff. But I think when you get into recovery and you know, with things like Penryn, they do activities on a Friday, and I used to think, I'm not fucking going out with a bunch of addicts going kayaking and walking and hiking and stuff. And you know, some of the best moments I've had with my wife, where we've had moments of clarity, you know, where we're promising that we're never going to do it again, is being on them walks and you know, just being around people that are going through the same thing. And you know, it's nice. It used to make me cringe thinking about it, but then when you get into it, you know, like the 100-mile walks and stuff like that they do, you know, it's just really, really good stuff. Yeah,
100%. Like that 100-mile walk that I did for probably like one of the most amazing.
You were plowing ahead, and we joined in for the last day, and I remember saying to my wife, saying, we'll do this next year if you're not pregnant, and we'll be doing it this year. Yeah. So we'll be out.
I don't know if I can do it again this year, but
I remember your feet. I think they mapped it wrong, so you ended up doing more.
Like 105 miles.
And when you hit to 100 miles, you're like, I'm not doing it. Yeah, I said, go on, we've done 100 miles. I can't see, but it ended up being. But you know, on that walk, I remember, you know, when we went past the Antelope pub, there was loads of us, and there was loads of lads that I knew in the pub, and I felt so embarrassed. I think I was only about 30 days back after my relapse, and I felt so embarrassed. And I remember my wife saying to me that they should be embarrassed, the ones being in the pub, you know, but you do get that of being embarrassed. But I think that goes the more and more you get into recovery, and when you see the people that are probably laughing, or they're probably the ones that need recovery more than us.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so what I want to go into next is what did ketamine do to your body and your mind, like short term and long term effects?
Yeah, short term, yeah, like it just gave me this crazy ego, like made me think I was in the boy, like the bee's knees, you know what I mean? Like I didn't realise that. I just thought I was sick, mate. Like I was just living in a complete delusion constantly. Like I thought with my training and that, I thought I was invincible. My fighting, I thought I was invincible. Just everything. I was just so arrogant and cocky with every aspect of my life, sort of thing. Even though I didn't realise, like I was unemployed, wasn't doing anything. I was still living at home. Do you know what I mean? Like just a little fantasy, living a complete fantasy. But in my head, I was like this soon-to-be millionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like just delusions. And then the body, obviously, depending on how heavy I'd been hitting it, because with using daily, I was able to regulate it some days where I was just tipping myself over. Do you know what I mean? Just tearing myself up, right? But there was other days where I'd want to be out going under and just lying in bed all day. Just
like a lot of times I've used cat, I felt quite vulnerable on that as well. When I would take cocaine, I really relate to what you were saying. Like I was having boxing fights left, right, and centre whilst using, and I was winning titles. I didn't need to train, and I just thought, I'm never ever going to lose. And then I remember losing my first fight, and I was devastated. And then I didn't stop using, but I just started training a little bit more to go with it. I was still living in that fantasy world.
Yeah, you know. So obviously, I had my first fight when I was probably in the heights of my addiction. To be honest, I was like smashing it. I think it was something about 62 kilos or something like that. Like I was getting about. Like, I thought I was ripped. I was like, oh, I'm jacked, lad. But I wasn't. I was just skinny as anything. So for this lad called Cadwin, I'm fighting him again, July 12th. So like 3 weeks on Saturday. And obviously now I've got an extra like 10 kilos on me, and I've got 17 months.
And do you know what? I just think from when I've seen you fight the first time, every time I've seen you fight, you've improved.
Yeah.
You know, you got to understand 17 months in terms of healing your body isn't a long time. And you're kind of like me in the aspect where I got back clean. When I hit 30 days, I had a fight. When I hit 60 days, I had a fight. When I had 90 days, I had a fight. And that's like, your body hasn't even had time to heal. But now, you know, I'm coming up to a year clean, and I'm feeling like I'm getting stronger and stuff. And I'm really struggling to make weight. As where when I was on it, I wasn't even having to cut weight. As where now I'm cutting like 7-8 kilos just stuff to get down to them weights and stuff.
Yeah, I remember walking into that fight light as well at 62 kilos. Like, and now I walk around at like 74 now, so I've gained 12 kilos, but I'm fighting.
Your physique's off strong, and it's just your endurance. Like when you're just coming off a title fight. Was it 5 rounds?
5 rounds.
You know, and I've done 5 rounds a few times, and you know, for that level of rounds, you're not that experienced.
No,
you know. So I was quite intrigued when me and my wife were watching it on the TV, and I was like, oh, is he a 3-round fighter? Because I know a lot of people are really good at 3 rounds, you know, and then when you start putting 4, 5, 6 rounds in, then it's harder because you're a fast fighter. It's hard to keep that pace up for the whole 5 rounds. And you know what? You were absolute swimming till the last bell, and even after the bell had gone, the rounds jumped away and stuff. And do you know what? Me and my wife were saying, you know, I know you lost the fight, but I was like, do you know what? He's done well there. Against a solid fighter.
Yeah.
You're predominantly a kickboxer.
Yeah.
And you're fighting in Muay Thai against somebody, that is a Thai fighter.
Yeah.
Or was it K1?
It was K1.
K1. So, the leg kicks and stuff like that. It is a lot. And do you know what? You didn't. I was interested to see, like, as a fan, how you would do with the leg kicks. Do you normally do leg kicks, or is it?
Yeah, I do leg kicks. I just don't do knees. Yeah, so it was my first fight K1 with knees and that, and so like it was a lot of clinching and then knees. Like it's very tiring clinching. Like I didn't realize. I thought it would be more.
Yeah, I've had a couple of tied into clubs and not a chance to know all of it.
I thought it would be more strenuous, just stand and trade, but the second you get tied up in a clinch, mate, it's weight on you and that.
It's like, when you're a kid and you have a wrestling match with your brother, when it's after 10 seconds, you're knackered. And it's like, you stood up and you get a knee in the stomach and them shots. But, going through all the stuff with the cat and all the damage that's done to your body, it just shows how resilient us as humans are. If you're taking knees and kicks to the body,
exactly.
If you'd have carried on the way that you were going, like none of that would have been possible. And do you know what? Even though you lost it, do you know what? You've done really well. And I think for a first title fight and for the first 5-rounder, I thought you'd done really good. And you did look strong.
It was strange, mate, because like usually in my other fights, I start really fast and then finish a bit slow because I'm gassing. Complete opposite way around. I started dead slow, and then that last round was, for me personally, I was quite disappointed in that performance. But like realizing about it now is like my first 5-round, first title, all the pressure. And
there's a lot of pressure.
Good lads, how that kid is good.
And he boxed when I boxed for the British title. He fought on that, and he got fight of the night, and he gets that quite often. So
I mean, having went to the shot, I think it was in Denby maybe. When we're like Saf and Tony and that, watch out for this one, he's one to watch. And like 6 months down the line, I was fighting him, but he had that range over me, and I couldn't get in. He was snapping on my legs all the time. I thought my game plan was he'd go in with the leg kicks, but I don't think I landed one, mate. I did, but you know what I mean?
You were coming on strong towards us, and I think I'm the same. Every fight I've had, if I get punched once, I think that I've done awful, and then my wife will be saying, "You've done well." What, do you know what I mean? Or we're always our own worst critics in that, but as a starting point for title fights, like you jump straight into the deep end there into a discipline that you're not, it's not really your discipline. So I wouldn't be.
It was 3 weeks after my fight with Tommy as well.
Straight on
prize, and that's another. So
who's another really, really strong fighter.
Yeah,
I was quite worried about that one. I was thinking,
I surprised myself that night, mate. Like I was initially there was a 4-man comp, obviously, wasn't it? And then we had like 4 in it, and I was feeling quite confident. Do you know what I mean? Like I thought I'd get at least to the final, then have a good scrap in the final, and then 2 of the lads pulled out of it, I think, with injuries or whatever, and then got replaced with Tony, and I was like, oh, fuck, shit. You know what I mean? Because I've seen him scrap, and he's a big lad, do you know what I mean? I've seen him go, his game is a young, do you know what I mean? And he's good, he's getting really good technically as well. He's trains over at Primal, and I see him, I was like, fucking back, getting first rounds as well, and it's like, hoping it, because the lad that I'm fighting in July 12th, 3 weeks, he was in it as well. So I was like, hopefully I'll get him first, smash him, and then go and take Tommy when he's like had a good scrap against the other lad. But obviously I get him first, didn't I? So I was like, right, okay, here we go.
So is that tournament still carrying on, or is it,
no? So
you're just going to fight the lad that you could have?
Yeah, no, I mean, just a rematch. Obviously, he was my first fight and my first loss, which actually pushed me to get clean. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, I can't be losing fights like that.
Well, who is it you're fighting?
Rayner-Jones.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen him fight on Octagon Wars.
Yeah.
And I think he'll do really well against him this time. I feel like he's kind of, I've seen him fight a few times, and he's kind of had the same ability as what he was as well. I feel like you have improved.
Oh, I've come on leaps and bounds.
A lot.
I'm sober now, I'm clean. I can actually remember what I did. That's very session. So I'm remembering little things.
Not just going in
on pure fight or flight. You know what I mean? I'm going in with my brain working now. It's firing, lad. And like I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm faster than I've ever been. Fitter than I've ever been. Training more than I've ever trained. Eating cleaner than I've ever eaten. Do you know what I mean? Like everything is just like I can't wait for it.
Living my fighter's lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that comes helps. It's a helps helped me in recovery. Like I seen it as hard at first because I done all my boxing whilst using. So I thought a lot of people, they get clean, then they get into fitness, and then it goes into that. I was already in a routine of training all the time and using.
Yeah.
But having that fighter's lifestyle just goes hand in hand with recovery. And like, I haven't got a fight now till after the baby's born, and like I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still training and stuff, but I feel like I'm addicted to like being anxious all the time. Like I'm so used to being anxious of a fight coming up, and I just don't know how to feel now. I've got anything to, I tried to book. I've been offered a British title fight on the 27th of September, but the baby's due 3 weeks after that. So I said to her, so the wife, I said, I've been offered a British title fight. She was like, not a chance. I got more chance of planning this. Okay, I'm going to go on to just how fast did it spiral out of control when ketamine became part of it? Because I know you kind of had said it took a long time for it to, but once it started spiraling, how fast from when you said, was it 21?
About 21, 22, yeah.
To when just before you went to rehab?
Oh yeah, it was chaos. Like, it was carnage. It was mental. So like, basically, I don't know if you know with cat. Yeah, like when you start getting these cramps or like bladder problems, it's really painful. Yeah, and like the only way to deal with that pain is, at least when like the user is using, the only way that you think you can get rid of that pain is by using more cat, which is like, I don't think there's any similar drugs like, you know what I mean? And yeah, you've got hair of the dog with alcohol and you're feeling dead rough, just have more drink, but it's not actually like painful, is it? Like this pain where you can't walk around, you're keeled over naturally, and you go into the toilet every 5 to 10 minutes for like a drop of piss, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even a proper way. It's like, it's torture. And the only way that you can sort of forget about that and get rid of the pain is by using more cat, which is obviously going to make even more pain and delay how long it takes to get rid of that pain. So it's a vicious cycle, basically. So like, I was just using more and more and more cat, where I was like 5 to 7 grams a day I was using at like heights of my addiction, which is just like absurd. Like,
yeah, it's a crazy amount.
People like will even dream of sniffing a gram of the stuff because it'll put them on their arse. Like,
You've been a kind of like,
I mean, I was doing a gram at a time before training and then going to train. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just mental, mate, like crazy. But like, that was the only way that I could train, because otherwise I was in too much pain. So I'd have to dose myself up so much just to get out of bed to train, or to do anything. Like, even if I was doing like little days labouring here and there, I'd have to take like an 8th in.
It costs you more, and what you need to go to work than what you earn. And so why do you think that ketamine is so popular with the young generation today? Because you were the first person that came into recovery that I'd ever known of. I didn't even know you get addicted to ketamine. And then since you've been in recovery, I think there's maybe 5 or 6 people I see in meetings now regularly that are recovering from
definitely on the rise.
So why do you think it's so popular?
So I've done quite a lot of work now with like Common Council, doing talks to them, with various doing like little videos, talks to them here and there. There's like little bits of BBC and that. Like, they ask the same question, like, why is it so prevalent amongst like the younger generations?
Isn't price? Isn't it?
A few things. Price is probably definitely the main ones. Yeah, like, it's dirt cheap. It's stupidly cheap. It's so readily available, because it's like a little pandemic of it. Like, all the fucking dealers, you know what they're like, to jump on anything, won't they? To get some of it money, so they're like, right, get loads of cane, get it dirt cheap, get everyone hooked.
So I think like, when I noticed when it was first coming out, when the dealers were on Snapchat and stuff like that, it was, throwing out deals. Yeah, like, oh, we'll give you 3 for 2 and stuff like that. And when it was quite new, and then most people are hooked on it, then it's full price. Then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was fucking bad for that myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, the first one would be dirt cheap, and then the next one more price. But like, I think with it being so cheap, and you're only needing a little bit as well. Like, when you first start, you got no tolerance to it, so you need a tiny bit. I remember when I first started, it was 30 quid a gram, sometimes 35, 40 for the really good stuff, yeah. And like, a gram would last 3 of us a whole night. Yeah.
Yes, and it's a very
So that's 10 each for a whole night. Like the only thing as cheap as that is pills, yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, you probably need like 2 pills for a whole night. So
that's
it was so dirt cheap. And like at the start, like I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't fun. Do you know what I mean? Like it was dead fun. Like it was so new. I was like, what's going on? I'm just like completely out of it, tripping out and all sorts. Like wavy, everyone's like laughing because they're falling over and that. So it did have like a lot of fun appeal to it at the start. But that doesn't last long. Do you know what I mean?
No, we used to say to each other when we took it would make your hair colours see sounds.
Yeah, that's
and it is it. What I found with it was I enjoyed music more.
Yeah.
I predominantly used to when I was inside, and we wouldn't. It was expensive in there. It was something like £120 a pound. But obviously, that's getting it in and stuff like that. But it would be a holiday out of yourself if you took anything. Say like cocaine, you'd be scatty, you'd be looking under your door. You'd be paranoid and stuff like that. As where if you took the ketamine, it would give you. So I can really see why.
And that's another reason why the younger generation like use it, is because a lot of them are troubled. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's different. They've got different shit, whether it's family stress at home, whether they're being bullied, whether it's anything at all. Just stress of like leaving school to going on to starting work and having bills for the first time. Like the younger generation, that's an escape from that. Do you know what I mean? Like they can just do that, get that little hit, and just completely escape from the problems for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time, and then just keep topping it up and escape for it. But the problem is with it, it's so addictive. Like people, even when you go to like the rehab places now, they say it's not physically addictive at all. It's just psychologically addictive. I think it's bullshit, mate. I think it's both.
But if you're saying that you would take more to get rid of that pain, then how is that any different? So when I was using and I didn't have any coke and I would start feeling scatty and I would have to take more, then I'd feel fine.
Yeah, and your tolerance builds a bit as well, which is going to create sort of dependency on it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember the days I couldn't get it. I was the worst human being on planet Earth. Do you know what I mean? I was horrible to anyone around me, just like until I sorted it. And then the second I sorted it, completely different person, but completely different. And I didn't realise, like, I didn't know much about addiction. Do you know what I mean? I'd heard about addicts and that, but I didn't know how it could affect a person and their family and loved ones. And I should have really done my research on it prior, but I didn't. So like, I was like, why am I acting like that? I didn't even.
The thing is, you're in that active addiction. You're in that. The last thing you're going to be doing is, oh, why am I being?
Yeah,
probably you don't need to obviously notice. My brother says to me, like, I have good conversations and that I love being around my brother. And he said to me, I enjoy being around you. He said I used to hate being around you because you're just like a loose cannon. He's like predictable. He's like, well, one minute you're fine, and then the next like you're shouting and stuff and. That's not really me. I'm like a well laid back person.
Yeah.
But when I was in my active addiction, you're a different person. Even when it was weed, if I hadn't had a spliff, I couldn't be. I wasn't. You couldn't talk to me. So and I've heard they say that weed isn't like physically addictive, but I couldn't eat without a spliff. So if it's affecting your eating patterns, and I couldn't sleep without a spliff, then. It kind of is affecting your your physical.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that's kind of like stuck in that cycle now? Because like you were saying now, I should have done my research and stuff like that. And I think over the last couple of years, with a lot more young people getting into recovery, there is a lot more research out there that's thrown in your face.
Yeah.
And you can pick up little bits here and there. When you came in and when I came in, there wasn't really, when people were in recovery, they kept it to themselves.
Yeah.
As where now, we're not really embarrassed about it, and we're just trying to, even if you help one person, we came from that. That helps us stay clean, helping other people. Like if someone's stuck in that rut like you were in that cycle of just taking the ketamine, just to get by, what advice would you give them?
So, like, there's two things there really. Is like what came to pop to my head. It's like you try to educate yourselves, or try to, like, if you've got a mate struggling or a family member struggling, just try and educate them on.
I think it's looking out for the signs that someone is.
Yeah, and that's like a big.
Because you've already said that other people around you will notice you're an addict before.
Yeah, but like for the first 3, 4, 5 years, no one had a clue, do you know what I mean? Like, none of my family, I hid it so well from everyone. Don't ask how, because, like, I've seen pictures of what I was like, do you know what I mean? I was a mess, but, like, I hid it for so long. And then as soon as everyone found out, they realised, and, like, that's why he's been so different for the last few years. Whereas they didn't, like, especially my mum and dad, like, they didn't have a clue. Like, they knew that I smoked like a bit of weed out of the pot.
That's what you know, like that's so used to being able to hide it just a little bit.
It was like my advice is that I'm just stoned, yeah, but like I was completely.
And then when you're losing weight or I'm cutting weight for a fight, I used to use that a lot. People would be like, "Oh, you're being on stress." I said, "No, I'm fighting in a couple of weeks and cutting weight." When I was weighing in for fights, I was having to put bottles of water in my pockets because I wasn't heavy enough.
Yeah, so I think just the advice is like, just educate yourselves about it, but speak to people. Like, don't hold it in. Like me personally, I've been so open and public with my recovery, which was at the start. I remember when I was going to rehab, I was so ashamed, I was so embarrassed, I was mortified that I'd had to do that. But then I was like, you know what, fuck it, own it. Like, own it, yeah. It's like, that's you, that's how it's gonna be. It's not gonna change. Like, you can't hide it forever. Just own it. And it was the best thing I've ever done, lad. Like, all my, like, I like to think of myself as like well known. People like get along with me really well.
You're a good person. You've got a good heart. You've got a good spirit. You're not a pushover.
No,
but you're an all round. You're a good person, mate.
Yeah.
Like if I was in active addiction, I feel like I could reach out to you. And that's where a lot of people will just not read the message, or you are definitely approachable to people, and you're young, which is the main thing.
Exactly, that's the big thing. But like when I was open about it, I was expecting like everyone to take the piss, and like we're young men, do you know what I mean? You know, our friendship groups, like that's what we do.
How you know already?
Yeah, we just take the piss out of each other. It wasn't like that at all. Like the amount of support I got from people that like barely even know me, lads, you know what I mean? Like, they just know of me and messaging me like these massive paragraphs, just wishing me the best of luck and all this. This was dead early on, and I was like, that helped me so much stay clean, because I was like, if I mess up now, let everyone down, and they don't even know me, and I don't even know them properly, but I feel like I was letting down. So it was a bit of pressure at the start as well, but it's worked out good, you know what I mean? Like, the amount of people that have just been like so inspiring. Like, I've seen your story, I've seen your videos.
It's hard to deal with that at first because it's overwhelming. You think, how can, I used to think like, how can me being a fuck up inspire people? But you know, when it's always the people you'd never expect. Exactly. Inspire them and stuff. Exactly. Like, my brother, he's never really been an addict, as to say, with drugs. But with him, it's food, and like he's like, he inspired me for that, and I was just like, the just randomness of stuff back, and you are like really approachable, and I can imagine that you do inspire a lot of people, mate.
Yeah,
really do, especially with the ketamine.
Yeah, it's like crazy for me now. So like, I'll just be chilling at home, playing a little bit of Xbox or something. I'll just get a message like 12 midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, just a massive message like saying that they've just seen my video and it's like absolutely changed the whole like thought process, and they really want to get clean, asking for help. I never thought it was always me asking for help. Yeah, because I had nothing going for me. Do you know what I mean? I just wanted.
But when you did ask for help, there was people there to help.
Yeah.
And then that's what they say, you only keep what you have by giving it away. So, I feel like when you get clean and you've had that help from Penryn and stuff like that, not that it's your duty to do it, because you don't have to, but it's, it's not to like throw it down people's throats, but, just to make it open and aware in our community. Yeah. And when people see it and it's like, see you in the ring fighting for titles, and they're like, I was going to say used to be an addict, but we'll always be addicts, but he's in recovery, and it's really good. You're doing amazing, yeah. So I feel like you've already answered this next question, but it's what pushed you into recovery, and I know you've already touched on. Was it your uncle?
Yeah, well, that was like the prompt. Yeah, that's what like made me sort of realise that I need to sort of start changing.
And was it straight after that? How long after that was it before you went to?
It was. So basically, like from that, I moved into my dad's. Did I think maybe a week clean, completely off it, and went through that like nasty little withdrawals of like just having to deal with the pain, because like the cat cramps were ruthless. Like, you can't sleep, you're constantly like just keeled over. So I did like a week there, relapsed because obviously I couldn't be dealing with it anymore. So I went back home to my mum's, just had like probably a month of sending it. And then I moved in with my 9 then, and like I wouldn't dare do it around my 9, do you know what I mean? I've never have, like, if I was off my head, I would never go and see my grandparents because I thought that was like the ultimate disrespect. So I moved there, I was like, this is my chance now, yeah, like I can, I mean, I took everything there, I had some time off, like work and everything. I started getting really well after about a week. Went back to do some labouring just so I had a bit of money to get like keep fit sort of thing, and it was a good solid routine for me. And then I got to about 12 days and I went out with my uncle and auntie to the pub with intentions of just having a few drinks, and that was like a big mistake. But I needed that mistake because it taught me, like, this is why I still don't drink now to the day, because I remember that time where I'd done my longest sobriety, 12 days.
12 days, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, can go for a drink. Excellent. 12 days is like 12 weeks when you're...
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't go 12 hours without using, and I went 12 days. So to me, it does
feel like, oh, I'm right. If I can go 12 days, I can go to the urban on a few drinks.
I put on like half a stone. I was looking really good. I was like, looking in the mirror, I was like, fucking hell, is that all I needed? It was 12 days. Yeah. I was like, I'm feeling great again. I'm fit. One whiskey, mate, Jura on the rocks. Yeah, I remember first swig, and I was like,
it was at this moment, Charlie.
Yeah, literally like that. And I think I had the sweet and got the phone out at the same time. Subconsciously didn't even know what I was doing. I just ordered it there and then, and it was there.
It's like a cup of tea and a biscuit.
But what I didn't do is, because I was out with my auntie and uncle, and I knew that when I went home late that night, I'd have to see my 9. So I just kept it in my pocket the whole night. I didn't touch it, and that wasn't a problem to me. The second I got home and got into bed, I just nailed it. And then I was just from there, it was like the 12 days at my 9, I was sat downstairs with them every night, cooking for each other, watching Hannibal on Netflix. I'm watching like 5 seasons in about 12 days. So I was smashing in there as well. But then, like, as soon as I relapsed, mate, I was sat in my room, and she was like, come into my room, and I'd be like quickly cleaning my nose, hiding things and that, yeah, like just fucking white all over my dress.
I'm not suspect at all, no.
I'm not suspect. But she's like, oh, you're not coming down to watch Hannibal? I was like, no, I'm just going to play Xbox tonight. She's like, oh, okay. And I might just be there raiding it like 3-4 days in then, and like the cat counts were worst they've ever been, and like I had to go and wake her up at like 3 in the morning, and just seeing her face, how mortified she was, because she just knew that I'd lied, and seeing me like that. Like, if anyone's seen any of their like loved ones or friends that are suffering with ketamine addiction, they know.
It's something different when it's your 9. Like, my 9 is the godfather of our family. You know, my 9 is about 4.5 feet tall, but I am petrified of her. Not petrified of her hurting me. If my 9 tells me no, it's no. Yeah. You know, my 9 was a mass one for me to tell that I was in recovery, and she knew the whole time. She just kept it to herself. And when I relapsed, I went there and I was like, 9 and 30 days clean again. And she said, I'm not talking to you. She's like, you've done 30 days. She's like, and she came to visit me once in prison, and they strip searched them, not strip searched her, but they searched under her bra, and she said she's never been humiliated like that and refused to ever come again. And I just remember, I'll never do that again. And then I was out doing the same thing. But I really relate to, my mum was younger, and she liked to drink and stuff like that, so I wasn't really bothered that much. I bothered what she thought of me, but not like on my 9 did I try to hide it from my 9 for as long as I could.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, once I'd relapsed there, then the next, she said if I ever relapsed, I'd be out. Yeah, and I didn't. I loved it there. I wanted to stay there and sort my life out completely. But as soon as I realised that she'd seen it, I was like, fuck, it's back to square one again now. So it was about, during this time, I was like going to the Dawn Centre, do you know what I mean, in Holland Bay, like they try and get you out of this. I would recommend going there, obviously, because it's getting the ball rolling, but like, you just get put on a waiting list. I got this massive fucking booklet to fill out, like a ketamine work booklet, and it's like...
So what's this, like a SMS?
Similar, yeah.
So me and my wife went to SMS, and we were already like 60 days clean, and we were just looking for, a little bit more support to go along with Penryn, and they were kind of say, we ended up leaving with like this little booklet of paper, and he was like, when you're sniffing, he's like, just use these like Post-its.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's so you can have, you're not sharing notes basically and passing disease. And we were like, wow, that's a bit mad, that. And then it was said that we were too clean to be with SMS, because you have to be actively using. As we're Penryn House, I feel like that's a different side of recovery. Don't get me wrong, any recovery is good recovery, but I didn't really think that SMS was for me.
So like the best bit of advice I got given from the Dawn Centre when I was going is to like reduce my use, which obviously you say to anyone, just stop using, not.
But that could just be as dangerous.
That like little, like telling me like, don't stop, just reduce what you're using. So I used that. I think I was using about an 8 a day at the time. So I cut it down to like half an 8 for like every day for a week. And then, so what I was doing, like, it's horrible I've had to do this, but this is what I had to do, do you know what I mean? I had to give it to my mum for her to give it to me, do you know what I mean? Like,
to like dose it out.
Yeah, to dose it out. And then obviously I remember times where like I was in so much pain, so I was like sleeping downstairs on the sofa, so I had my Xbox in the living room, or like a monitor on like a desk and that, and I was just sat in there. She'd be in the kitchen, like mortified, hearing me and that things, and like, so I finished one of my teams so one night, and I was like, I fucking just flipped. Like, I was like, get me another one now. I was going mental, like having to put my mum through that. She was like, no, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, obviously, in the end, I was like flipping that much that she just gave it to me, do you know what I mean? But like, the damage it causes to your family, you don't realise. Like, I didn't think anything of that. I was just like, oh, just leaving me a fucking another team, do you know what I mean? I didn't do shit. But then, like, looking back at it now, it's like, fuck, now it's crazy. Like, but that's just normal. That's just what you do in addiction. But I know she realises now that, like, that wasn't me, do you know what I mean? She's seen how far I've come. She's super proud of me, do you know what I mean? She tells me all the time. But, yeah, I think that's like, especially if there's any parents watching this, or their kids are starting to go through these things and they're so confused as to why, like, that is what happens. They lie, they steal. Any means necessary to do what they feel like they've got to do.
Because I feel, when I look back now, I thought my mum's been up and down the country, all different jails, coming to see me and stuff, and I never seen anything wrong with that. So I remember, and she would get the train, then she'd get a taxi to the jail, and then I'd be fuming if she didn't bring enough money for food and stuff in the visiting, and I just think she's going through all that, and then I would be out, and then I'd be living with her, and I'd be using in the house, coming home pissed. I was on tag. I wasn't coming home from my tag, and I was making her answer the box and stuff like that, and say that she kicked me out so I didn't get recalled, and that was just normality, putting my mum through all that. And now my mum used to always say to me, I'm happy when you're in prison because I know where you are and I know where you're safe. And that proper choked me up, that, because I couldn't imagine saying to my kids, I would want you in prison because I know where you are and I know that you're safe and you phoned me. Like, I was like, wow, that's traumatic for my nan, and that was normal. I used to put her through that all the time, so I really relate to what you're saying there. So I'm gonna go on to like life in recovery now, and like, just what keeps you grounded in your recovery? I feel like obviously your fighting's gonna keep you grounded. Do you do meetings? What's your sort of recovery at the moment? Because obviously I know you're a bit further on into recovery now.
My recovery at the minute is like, I've got things going on in like behind the scenes, a company called Kate UK. I've basically been working with them where we've come up with like sort of like PowerPoints to deliver little, I guess, talks.
Yeah, like a workshop.
Like a workshop, yeah.
Which I think is really needed.
Yeah.
I got asked to go and do one for Cat, and I was like, oh, but I don't really know it, and there's not enough people like you out there willing to do it, and I just think you'll touch some.
I mean, it's specifically for ketamine. Obviously, I mentioned how ketamine, with similar to any drug, addiction is addiction, but specifically with ketamine, because I've got parents and carers and local authorities, they're so unaware of cat, like it's crazy. Like people just don't even know what it is, and it's like it's tearing through communities, families, everything, like day by day. I've got mates now that like they've only used about 6 months to a year, and they're like worse than I ever was. Like fucking can't hold the pace at all. Like they're just constantly keeled over. They don't even leave the house anymore because they lost so much weight and things. Like it is, I don't know whether like, because I was using 4 or 5 years before I got any sort of damage, so I don't know whether it's changed or
the chemicals have changed in it or something.
The dealers are obviously adding another shite to it.
Because it was like that with Bevan Carter. You know, it was one way, and then when it came illegal, we changed, and then every time you got it, it was like a completely different drug. You didn't really know what you were getting, and I feel like it is like that with ketamine. You sometimes it's a powder, sometimes it's like in a crystal. And it comes different ways, and you don't know what's in it.
Nah. So I used to get different batches, and I'd be like off different people, and I was like, well, I'm not doing this batch anymore because it gives me cramps straight away. And I'd go on to different ones. Like, oh yeah, this one sound doesn't give you cramps, and then after 3 days of using the same one, you got cramps. And I was like, just in my head thinking it was the certain.
It's not. It's
5 grams of fat a day, do you know what I mean? But in my head, it was like, oh,
it's just about that
shit, he's got dodgy stuff. Like, it's just doesn't matter what you use, like, but yeah, it's mental, mate. Like, I don't miss it in the slightest. Like, all the memories I've got from my active addiction of bad memories, I don't remember any of the good times.
And do you know what? That's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, of course.
There's a thing sometimes when you think back. When I think back, I do think, oh, I used to have a good time, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I just that's my brain telling me you used to have a good time doing it, and I didn't. As soon as I started, instant regret, and then just be downhill from there.
Do you know what I remember from using Cat? Yeah, I remember the first time I ever did it. Yeah, it was at a mate's. We'd been like sending it all night, listening to tunes and that techno and all this, dancing on whatever. And then like we'd end the night with Cat. Yeah, so my first time doing it, we ended. I remember all 3 of us sat on the sofa, yeah, under a little blanket, just there, like whoa, weird. Yeah, I don't remember anything else other than that, other than like cramps in Ibiza, being in hospital 9 times in like a fucking wheelchair once, just sat there like keeled over in agony. I don't remember any of the times from it. I just, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the first time and the bad times. So like,
I think that's a blessing.
It is,
you know, definitely a blessing. So I've obviously got family members in recovery. I know you have yourself. What's it like having family members in recovery? Is it helpful, or do you find it difficult?
Both. So obviously, like, my nan's like a legend. I mean, she's like 76, and she's been sober now from alcoholism 36 years. So it's just like she came and did one of the
yeah,
well done, man. She came and did like the Friday talk. You know the
and that. So in Penryn they do a talk on a Friday, like a resident sort of meeting, and then the community comes in as well, and they normally try and get someone to come in and share their story, and they're really good meetings.
Yeah. So she came in and did that. It was really weird because at the time it was my nan was there, my mum was there watching my nan, and I was there. So it's like, I think Kev pointed out, it's like 3 generations of addiction all in one room. They don't think they've had that there before. So obviously I've got like family members that like, I won't name names obviously, but like they have a little bit of sobriety, doing really well, and then they relapse again, and then it's just like back to the downward spiral, and then they pick it back up again, do really well, and relapse. And do you know what I mean? It's just that mental cycle that even though they've seen how it affects me, like they still don't recognise that it can affect them like that, and they just think it's just
that's the disease that was is the definition of insanity is just doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I sometimes I feel like it's a superpower. Like, I've got my uncle in recovery, and, you know, I feel like I've got an extra sponsor and stuff with him, but sometimes it's difficult. You know, obviously my wife's in recovery as well, so it's really good because everything is, I get to have a wife that doesn't drink and doesn't use and stuff like that, and that's good for me. But obviously being in recovery, we're difficult people.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that knows my wife, she's a difficult person. Anybody that knows me, I'm a difficult person. So sometimes you can have your bad days. You have probably more bad days than a normal person, being in recovery. So sometimes it's like a superpower, and sometimes you're like, oh, yeah. But yeah, I respect what you're saying, and I appreciate you not saying any names.
Yeah.
So this is a good one. So when I got clean, like you were saying now, when you come out of rehab, the first thing you did was go to a pub, because like, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
And I always thought, like, what am I going to do? Like, I didn't only enjoy going fighting, boxing fights, because I knew I was going to win a belt or I was going to win a fight, and then afterwards I'd feel like a little celebrity for a little bit, and I get all my drinks for free, and I get all my sniff for free. And I thought, what am I going to do to enjoy my life now when I'm not using? So like that is the question. How do you enjoy life now? What do you do for fun?
Before I say what I did for fun, I remember coming, like, when I first got clean, I was like, fuck, I'm going to be boring. Everyone's going to hate me. I'm going to be boring, you know what I mean? Like, I want to have a personality. I'll just be dry and boring. Not the case at all, but I remember saying to one of my recovery workers in detox, it's like, I'm just going to be boring now, aren't I? It's like, no, of course you're not. Like, you're going to be you. You're going to be the real you. What, like, probably your family and closest friends have missed for the last solid advice during addiction. You'll be your authentic self again. So, like, what I do now, I love it. It's not boring, but like, it can be at the same time. I train, I eat, and I sleep.
Yeah,
pretty much. Do you know what I mean? And then
train, repeat.
Exactly. And then, like, on the weekend, I love going to cinema, and like me, I went and watched the Karate Kid the other week, the new one, and I loved it, mate. So yeah, it's well.
But you know, it's
the little things now that I get pleasure out of. Yeah, little things like that. That's probably my, like, biggest saying at the minute. It's like, it's the little things.
No, but it is though, because when you're in active addiction, you pray for them things, to be able to go do normal things, but then when you do get into recovery, you're like, oh, that's a bit tedious and boring. But the normal life, everyday life is boring.
Yeah.
You can't expect like an adventure every day of the year.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's life on life's terms. I love nothing more than, I'm struggling to find series to watch now, because me and my wife have watched everything, especially with her being pregnant.
Yeah.
We'll have big ideas, like we're going out for a walk, we'll make it to the top of the hill or halfway up the hill, and she's like, it's too cold, it's too warm, let's go home. And
yeah,
I'm all right with that. And then, we'll watch series, like you saying, hammering series, but actually remembering them. Whenever I used to watch series, I'd watch the whole series, and then I couldn't remember anything that happened in it. I'd be falling asleep through it because I was half cut, or I actually enjoy.
I used to get, I'd like watch a whole film or a series, and like gets to the end, it's like, I've seen this. Not realizing the whole way through, is like, I've fucking seen this, all of it.
So I think this is a good one, because I was worried about what it was going to be like dating or being in a relationship clean. Luckily, as when I started getting clean, my wife was getting clean at the same time, and we ended up getting together. But what's it been like for you dating? Because obviously I know when you were in the recovery house, you weren't allowed relationships there. Especially when people are in recovery themselves. So that can be quite hard when you're obviously going to get close to people and stuff like that, and the relationship's not frowned upon. They're just you're not allowed to have them. And obviously now you've got your own place and you're doing your own thing now out in the community, so you're free to date and you're free to be in relationships. What's that been like?
So, like, obviously, it comes down to the being boring thing. Like, I always thought, like, I'm gonna be boring, I'm not gonna have confidence to speak to girls, I'm gonna be shy, all this. It's the complete opposite way around, you know what I mean? Like, and it's the one thing that I've done with, like, anyone that I've spoken to or any relationship I've been in since I've been in recovery, like, probably the second thing I say after, like, how are you doing, whatever you say at the start, I say I am in recovery, by the way. Yeah, like, I remember when I was in Penryn, I live in Penryn now, it's a hostel for, like, recovering drug and alcohol addicts, and, like, I had 7 years, I just completely brutally honest right from the start, and that's, for me, really important, because it filters out anyone that's genuine.
Any wasting time.
Exactly, yeah, anyone that's genuine. But people love a what's the word? like a life turnaround, love change, like change of life sort of thing. Yeah, so like that's one thing. And like even with making friends as well as dating, like making friends, like I say I'm in recovery, and everyone's like, "Fucking, I wish I could be like you, mate." Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not an addict per se, but like I drink a little bit too much here and there, or I'm doing a little bit too much coke, or blah blah blah, smoking a bit too much.
And that sounds like an addict to me when you're kind of justifying it or downplaying it.
100%, yeah. But like I've had mates that have like significantly cut down how much they're using, and say it's because of me. Do you know what I mean? Being inspired. Like I have got mates that gone the other way, and like they were fine when I was in my active addiction. Now they're fucking smashing it, and that's confusing to me because they've seen me firsthand a bit. But that's their own issues, isn't it? I'll be there for them when they do need that.
Yeah, do you know what I found that is people have got to be ready. You know, I've had a lot of people like sort of approach about recovery, and you know, me and my wife will look at each other and we'll roll our eyes and go, then they're not ready. But that reminds me of every time I used to see James Deacon, they used to say, "Oh, James," and I'd be out for football or something like that, and I'd had a few drinks and a couple of sniffs, and be like, "Mate, oh, what's about this recovery?" And he used to roll his eyes at me, and I used to think, "Oh, he's a bit stuck up his ass." But now I actually know. Now I'm clean and stuff like that. I understand when people do it to you, and they, you know, when people come to a meeting and then you know they're going to go straight to the pub after it, or they relapse straight away and they're just not ready.
Yeah.
So it's not that you don't want to help them. You just kind of know when somebody's not ready to be clean, and you know, when someone is, and it is hard because you can just give them the advice and stuff, but you know, it's kind of falling on
you. Can spend hours there giving them the best advice they will ever hear for completely free, but
it's hard. And people they've used, and then they ring you, or you know, when people are reaching out. So me and my wife have a thing where we do try and help people, but if somebody rings us and they're drunk, then that's triggering for us.
Exactly.
So we can't. So we just put the phone down and say to them, "Listen, when you've stopped using, give us a ring." And, you know, that's a big trigger for us. And
exactly.
People, a lot of times they're just reaching out because they want someone to speak to you, because they've burned all the bridges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can't steal people's rock bottoms from them. Yeah. You know, essentially. Okay, so how did your addiction affect your performance in your discipline and in your fighting? Because I know you were saying that now you're feeling stronger and the weight gain and stuff, but as what was like a day in the life of you with your training, your discipline, and you're using? So I want to just ask this to everybody that comes onto the podcast, is just like run us through an average day of you with your training and with your using whilst using.
Yeah, so it differed based on like a couple of things, like how much I was using at the time, but most days, like I'd wake up like 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon. Do you know what I mean? Just like I have nothing to do, so it's waking up dead late. I'd wake up, use straight away. Like the first thing I'd ever do when I woke up was use. But then like I'd have like 2-3 hours to go until training. So I'd train like 6:30 till 8:30, jiu-jitsu, then kickboxing outside. So I'd know that I'd have like a little period of about an hour or two. I used to try and give myself an hour before training of like cutting it out so that I was relatively, so I wasn't fucked basically. So I would send it for the first like couple hours, whether I go out, do whatever I was doing. If I was still doing bits and that, I'd go out, do whatever I had to do. I'd try and eat. The one thing that I was good at times was my diet. Like I'd eat really clean. Like it would like, I'd be hyper focused on eating really clean, probably because I knew trying to balance it because I knew I was fucking my body up so much. Like that
in your head, I thinking, well, I'm training, I'm running, and I'm eating healthy, so I'm able to use that level of ketamine. Because it just cancelling each other out.
So I'd have like a good outfit meal, and then I'd go out and meet whoever I was going to be with for that day. That was probably, I was latching onto them, or they were latching onto me because we had a common interest, which was ketamine. Do you know what I mean? So just get fucking messy basically for however long, and then I'll try and cut down an hour before training. It was like always rushing to get to training. I was like, quick, I won't get back home. I take ages doing everything. So I think fantastic. It'll take 5 minutes. It'll take me half an hour because I was just so out of it. I didn't realise. I thought I was just frantic. Yeah.
Save you half an hour to put your socks on.
Yeah. I was always late as well. So anyway, I'd get to training then. It's like I'd have a bump directly before training, so I'd have an hour off and then a bump directly before because I
can't keep me going.
Yeah, there's been times like it's like Gav, one of the coaches at PMA where I train. He was saying to me like, I don't know how he did it, last, but like I can see it until I knew, because he just thought it was just me, because people got so used to seeing me like that. Because I was like,
when you're having some kind of thing, people
that's something. So anyway, he was like, the whole class would be doing say like 20 press ups or something. Yeah, okay. I was like, oh, that's too easy for me. So I'd be there doing clap press ups. Yeah, the only one doing clap press ups. Anyway, the thing that got like one of the last ones, and like I've clapped and just slipped and smashed my nose on the mat. Had to walk off the mat, so my nose is pissing with blood. And like just little thing, I thought like when I was using it, I thought, oh my god, I'm sick. Like I'm class. Like I could do anything. But I like my form was probably like atrocious. You know what I mean? But I thought I could do it really well. It wasn't until after getting clean, my coach was like, fucking hell, I don't know what the fuck you were doing, like, you know what I mean? It's mental, like. But yeah, so I trained. The train was like an hour or two of being sober, do you know what I mean? And that was like, by the time I got out of it, I was completely sober. Well, I was fresher than what I did. I felt good, do you know what I mean? So typically go and have a good meal straight away. I used to love cooking, like I'd cook off my head all the time. I used to love it. So I'd have a good meal. And then it would be 9 o'clock, 9:30 by the time I showered and eaten. And then it was like, I'd either, because I basically had two things I'd do. I'd either stay and play Xbox. Yeah, I used to smash COD. I've always loved COD. My whole life would always been good at it as well. So I'd either do that or I'd go out. And that was sort of determine how my next day went as well. Because if I went out, it would involve drinking as well as the cat.
Yeah.
Or if I stayed in, it would just be the cat. So I'd at least get my head down for 3 or 4. If not, I'd kind of hangover the next day. And alcohol and cat are bad mix, dangerous mix. It's horrendous what it does to you. That's when most of your blackouts come, all this stuff.
So ketamine, does that go through? Because obviously it's affecting people that have with the shit bags, and I don't know the proper term for liars and your liver. So are they both attacking your liver, the alcohol and the ketamine?
Yeah, I can only assume. So I know it passes through your bladder or something. I don't understand the biology behind.
Because obviously alcohol deteriorates you quick, but
yeah,
I'm still learning about ketamine and stuff as people are coming in. Most of it that I've learned is from you.
Yeah.
So my next question is, how is it different boxing clean mentally and physically? So with me, when I was using, I had no fear of fighting. I had no fear of going for a boxing match. I genuinely no nerves.
Yeah.
I feel like I always had my excuse if I lost.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been on a bender for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I wasn't scared because I had that excuse ready, or if the drugs, because I would use, I'd use before fights and stuff like that, and I just wasn't bothered.
Yeah.
And then when I got clean, I remember saying to my wife, I was like, I'm fucking shitting myself. She's like, you've done this about 50 times.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you scared of? And just my nerves were a lot more, and I really struggled. And I feel like the more fights that I'm having, the worse that they're getting.
Yeah.
I suffer with my nerves, being nervous for fights, and I've never had that before. And obviously, the drugs were giving me that little comfort, that little blanket of not having that fear. And
false confidence as well. It's giving you a false confidence.
I could trust in my abilities, and I know that you trust in your abilities, but did you ever have anything like that?
So my first fight, I used the morning of the fight, and using ketamine before you fight.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's a horse tranquilizer, do you know what I mean? But I thought,
I feel like that's the opposite to a performance enhancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly,
100%. But so it's a funny story about this last fight. I'm not making excuses because it was a brilliant fight. It went the distance. It was a good fight, a good scrap, yeah. But the day before, I went for a haircut in Penn, yeah, and I was trying to detox at my dad's at the time, but I was just still actively using. So I'd got a haircut, yeah, and I had no money to get home or anything like that, yeah. So I was like, fuck it, I'll walk. It's a nice day. I've got loads of cattle on me. I'll just walk it, yeah. So I'm walking along like the beach now, yeah. It's a beautiful day, and then I'm like, fucking walking, just sniffing away, yeah. So I'm walking along like the beach wall now, yeah, and it's like a foot wide, and I'm like, right, okay, I'll just practice my balance walking along here, and I've like slipped, yeah, and like I popped my knee out, yeah. I don't know what I did to it. I popped it out. I was like, oh, that didn't feel good. Anyway, I was off my head on cat, so I'm not gonna feel any pain. It just felt weird. It didn't hurt.
Just felt like the popping sensation.
Yeah, I'm getting towards Morpeth now, so I'm probably about 10-15 minute walk from home, and I've stopped for a bit. So I think I might have like made a joint or something or whatever it was. And then I've like looked down at my knee and it was like double the size and purple. Yeah, this was within like half an hour. I'm like, oh, that's not serious. That's not good. If it bruises that quick, it's bad. Yeah,
the bruises, internal bleeding.
Yeah, but I still couldn't feel it. Yeah. So anyway, I got home and I was like, told my dad, and he was like, what are you doing, you fucking idiot? You're fighting tomorrow. I was like, I'll be all right with it. Didn't think anything of it. Anyway, I put some ice on it and that wrapped it up, got some ice on it. I was like, you saw. I woke up in the morning and it's triple the size now, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And I've like gone to stand up and just fallen over, yeah. I was like, fuck. I was speaking to my dad, I remember crying my eyes out to my dad. I was like, I can't fight, I'm gonna have to pull out, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, stop being a fucking idiot. My dad's good, yeah. My dad's like telling me as it is, yeah. He's like, stop being a bitch. What can you do about it? Yeah, you either pull out and look like a bitch, or you fight, yeah, you tape it. I sit up all day, get some ibuprofen and fight, yeah, just do what you've trained to do. So that's exactly what I did. But instead of like listening to advice and getting some ibuprofen and icing it up, taping it up, whatever, yeah, I was like, oh, what's a good painkiller?
Yeah,
Ketamine. So I've like used like Team for Cats. So I'm like all over the place, like pictures of me on the night of the fight, and I just look out of it, yeah. And the worst thing about it is because I ran out, I was clucking, yeah. So I was like craving it real bad. So my head wasn't even in that fight. I was injured and I was on cat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I'm looking forward to the rematch. Yeah, I know he's got his first few fights after me. He progressed really well. He's done really good. But like, I know like it's a different level of me now. So if I go there and perform how I know I can perform, then it's curtains. You know what I mean? I've said from day one after that fight, it's like I wanted that rematch. So
I think the timing is good for you.
Yeah, cool.
Is it going to be a 3-round fight?
It'll be 3-round K1, yeah.
It'd be nice if you could get that 5 rounds.
Yeah. We'll get this trilogy for
that. I think that'll be, you know, but say if you took the fight when you had your first fight back,
yeah,
you were still early recovery and stuff like that. I just feel like the timing, you know, I feel like a lot of people when they leave, like the recovery house, Penry House,
yeah,
they don't know how to live in the community and they tend to relapse and stuff. Not everybody, you know, but you've shown that you've got this. You've shown, you know, your consistency in the recovery house, and you've shown your consistency out of the recovery house, and I just feel you're in a really good place for this fight. Mindset, you know, you haven't rushed it. I would have probably rushed it. I want that fight.
Yeah.
And I would have rushed it, and they would have come back to fight me in the ass, and I just feel, because he is a tough fighter.
Yeah.
You know, he's not a walkover.
Nah,
and he's already got one over on you. So, you know, as being men, like, you know, as much as, and I liked what he said, I'm not making excuses, but this is just how it was. And that's good. And I like how you've been respectful, but I'm looking really forward to that fight because you've shown a lot of improvement in your last few fights, 1,000,000%. So the next one is, obviously, how has boxing, kickboxing, and any sort of training like helped you in your recovery and your journey? But you know, I feel like we've pretty much
just one thing that I mentioned though, like I notice now, so say I'm like feel a bit lazy and I don't train, so say I do the Monday but then I don't train the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm off on the weekends anyway. By that point it gets to like the Sunday, Monday, I was like 5-6 days off, I'm like a different person. I'm so depressed, I'm so lazy, I'm so unmotivated, like I'm getting more cravings, I'm just like
It's that dopamine as well from drugs, isn't it?
Not like suicidal talk. I'm never suicidal and that, but I'm
It's just like having that get up and go, can't be asked tired.
I can't be asked doing this, I can't be asked doing that. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I might as well just go back to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just things like that. And then I have one training session and I'm fine. I'm like, why didn't I just train? Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, for me, that is like paramount in my recovery, because otherwise I think I'd relapse.
It's an antidepressant in itself. You know, I can have a disagreement with the wife, and then when I go to work and I train the lads, and you know, a lot of the times I join in, and then you come back and, you know, it makes life a little bit easier. Sometimes I don't realise how hard work I am. Like, I've just come off having won the title 9-10 days ago, something like that, and I've only just started back training this week, and I'm a moody shit when I'm not training, and I'm like, all down the side of my bed. She's like, "Can you just tidy up your mess?" And I haven't been asked doing any dishes, can't be asked getting up, like just being proper, like feeling down and stuff, because I'm so used to having them fights, and I need to learn now to get motivated to just get up and train, even if I haven't got a fight coming up, instead of needing that fight in the calendar to make me motivated, you know, just for everyday stuff. Because obviously when the baby's here, I'm not going to be having fights like every 30 days or every 6 weeks, something like that. So, you know, that's more sort of growth that I've got to go on myself. So I never realised until I got into recovery how many boxers or fighters are actually in active addiction and how much of them struggle with drugs. Only that people have approached me in my classes and say, "Oh, what's this recovery thing you do?" Well, you go to meetings and, you know, asking questions, and I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Oh, you know, because they're using flat out and they're in active addiction." And it's always the ones you think, I never thought you. But there again, what is the stereotype of an addict look like? So what would you say to any of the young fighters out there that are using ketamine or any drugs at the moment?
Yeah. Just reach out, isn't it? Like, me and you both say, like, whenever we're fighting, we always sort of try and promote recovery, don't we? Like, I've walked out to wearing the my purple 100-mile t-shirt.
Yeah.
For my dad blanket.
I've just ordered my new fight kit. Well, I'm with me and the wife. She's helping me pick the material.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's purple and it says "We Do Recover" on there and stuff. So
yeah, I've had one make recovery visible on the thing.
Oh yeah,
the NWRC. Like, I just think like, and like Ronnie, you know, Ronnie Rollins. Yeah, he's ace. He asked me after one of my fights anyway, he was like, so as well as you're battling in the ring tonight, in the cage tonight, we hear you had another battle, and like, Leo Christmas, it's always myself, fuck's sake. But like, I was like, at the start, I was like, dead embarrassed that he'd asked me, but then I was like, this is perfect. Yeah, this is absolutely perfect.
Everyone's
getting my message to 700 people in person, and then everyone's going to see it online as well. So basically just said, like, anyone suffering with anything, like, feel free to like message me anytime. It doesn't matter what time it is, or reach out to anyone, and I will be able to point you in the right direction to try and get you out. Like, I've had so many people, and I still do get so many people that like constantly messaging me, asking for help and that, and like that's to me is what keeps me clean. I don't go to meetings and that anymore. Well, I went to one last week actually in Holyhead, a little like nudge meeting for people are still actively using, but they're trying to have the little nudge. Do you know what I mean? So I went to James Deacon asked me to go along to that, so like share my hope and wisdom, which was like a really nice little touch. You know?
Yeah, so it's a nice aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
To be asked.
Yeah, because that's just a recognition. Like, you can obviously see that I'm doing really well in my recovery. Like, I hate people that say that recovered.
Yeah, I don't think no one's ever recovered. So we're all only one about this.
I'm away from doing really well in my recovery. And like,
sorry, what I was saying before, you're safe. Yeah, like you've shown that you can do it in the recovery level,
though,
and you've shown that you can do it in the community as well when you're by yourself, because I feel like that's the test, isn't it?
Yeah, like I had to bring my dad 2 weeks ago and say, like, you're not going to believe this, but I'm like having really bad cravings. He was like, what? Because I've 17 months I've not had cravings since the first few months, and I was like, yeah, like I'm really craving a joint, like just my next door neighbour in my new house is like smoking constantly. So like whenever I've got my window on, the smell creeps into my room and it's just like flooding me with like all the nostalgia and that. And so I'm just like, I'm really craving a smoke. Yeah, and it's like, I'm probably going to off one. And it's like, fucking hell, like, okay. But just me telling him that.
It takes power away from it.
It's okay away.
That's what I say. When you share something, it takes power away from it.
Because I've not told anyone for a few days. Like, I've said to my missus, oh, I'm really craving joy. I'm not going to, but I'm really craving a joint. And she's like, yeah, you want me, whatever. And then, but like I say it to my dad, I was like, I'm probably going to end up doing it. And I was
saying it's there, so if you didn't do it, you know what disappointment.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was probably me trying to like save myself and justify it, wasn't it? But like just hearing him, like, I can't specifically remember what he said, but just having that someone to tell to, and then like him talking a bit of sense back.
That's obviously you being aware of your triggers and you keep it to yourself. That's because you want to have a relapse, you know.
Yeah.
So it is good to
and like with me, I was like, oh, Reed's never done anything wrong with me. It was Cat that fucked me over. Cat fucked my life up. I could have a joy, one joy, and then I'll leave it then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
no such thing.
But it happened to me last Christmas time as well. Yeah. I was with my ex. My ex was like, it's just like I like to drink on the weekend. And that's like worked all week and like drink on the weekend. And then I was like, I'm probably coming up to the point now. I'm like coming up to a year. It wasn't quite a year. I could probably have a drink over Christmas. I was just like, I remember like the next day I was on the train home. I was like, what the fuck was I thinking yesterday? I was sober thinking that. It's just berserk, isn't it? Like, so
your brain is trying to
always trying to trick you,
trying to get you straight back out there.
And that'll happen whilst you're in active addiction or in recovery. Like, your brain will try and trick you into using because it's comfortable, isn't it? And like your brain and body just want to be comfortable.
Yeah,
it's so important to stay out of their comfort zone.
Because I remember saying, "Oh, right, I'm not going to use cocaine anymore, but I'll use MDMA because I'm not addicted to that." And then using that, and then within a little bit a day, I was using that and that, and I just had adding more into the mix, and then it's just even harder to come off again. So what was your lowest moment, and can you think of a specific moment that made you change?
Yeah, that thing with my nan, mate, like going there to detox and waking her up and seeing her face, that was 100%. But the low moments were probably daily, mate, like hearing my mum with just like pleading with me daily to just try and fix myself, like arguing, fighting with my dad all the time, seeing my little sister go through what I'm putting the whole family through and that.
And I think it's like, you're telling your nine you're going to stop, and you're lying, and you kind of know she believes you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was for me anyway.
Yeah.
Like my nine thinking, oh, he is going to change this time when I have no intention of changing, and I know I'm going to break her heart. And it's different when they're older generation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well. Like anyone seeking recovery, the moment that you're doing it for yourself and not for other people, is when you'll actually get in recovery and you'll actually do it. But whilst you're trying to get clean for your wife, your kids,
it's not going to work. I feel like you have to be selfish in your recovery.
Yeah.
And it sounds a bit mad to say that, but I've tried to get clean for my kids. I've tried to get clean for my family, for my mum and my nine and stuff. And it's not worked. And this, once you start doing it for yourself, then it kind of falls into place with everybody else. And then other people appreciate it because they go, well, you have to put this recovery first.
Yeah.
It is essential.
Yeah.
So this is a good one. If you could go back to your younger self, what would you say to yourself? What advice would you give to yourself? Would you let yourself live through all that again and learn them lessons, or?
Nah. So I've been asked this question on a video before. It's like, just don't do cat. Whatever you do, don't do cat. I've got no qualms with you like experimenting with drugs because everyone does it. Yeah. But if you're gonna do that, be safe, but just stay away from cat. Yeah, because that stuff is just disgraceful. Like it really is.
Okay, so this is a bit of a mad question, but like I just want to start throwing it into my podcast. So, what does fighting to recover to you mean? Like, so to me, fighting to recover is literally fighting every day. just to get that extra day clean and keeping it in the day for me, you know, was the Just for Today program that I work and my wife works, and you know, just fighting for our normality. What does fighting to recover mean to you?
Yeah, it's pretty much that saying. I remember saying to Taz from Penryn, I was like, he asked me how I got on at my last fight. It was like, honestly, kind of felt like I've been like, I've disappointed myself. I didn't fight it how I know I can fight, but I'm still the winner because I'm going to bed sober. I'm clean. It's another day in the search, you know what I mean? And that is what it is. Like, no matter what shit happens to you, as long as you hit that pillow, you're sober and clean, yeah, like, you have nothing to worry about. Like, it's just about redoing it again. So whatever happens, just keep it going, reach out when you need to, and just keep going.
That was good. That's the first person I've asked what is fighting to recover pain, and that was a good answer. So your fight coming up next, what day are you fighting, and where can people get tickets?
Yeah, so we got July 12th, Octagon Wars in, I didn't know, the Broadway Boulevard. Ticket, I'm not sure, I'm not heard about tickets, but I'm assuming it's in like 3 weeks, so they'll be out probably this week, yeah.
Okay. Because my nephew, well, my classmate was my nephew, he's my wife's nephew,
yeah,
is fighting on that same show as well.
Yeah.
So if anybody's after tickets, get on to Charlie for his fight. And this is the one against
the rematch. Yeah.
The rematch. In a lot.
Going to be ultimate.
The next Nigel Ben, Chris Eubank.
We've hyped it up a bit on the Facebook, and we had a bit back and forth. I've never done that. I don't believe in it. I like to stay very professional and very humble with my fighting and my martial arts. That's just the way I've been taught. Martial arts is all about respect and honor. But we had a bit of back and forth on the Facebook comments, and that it's
just one of those. You have to put the performance in then, because there's nothing embarrassing about it, unless you've run your mouth.
Yeah, of course. And like, he messaged me after. It was like, "Oh, no beef, like, we just hype it up." And I was like,
"Do you know what though? It sells tickets, yeah.
Those to me.
Do you know what I mean? If you look at like an Aussie fight, it's a big fight anyway, but it sold tickets because of all the talk of and the interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to, or anyone you want to thank? And also, is there anyone you'd like to see on the podcast?
Yeah, just obviously shout out to like all my family that have stayed with me. Shout out to everyone at Penryn House. Shout out to my coaches at PMA, and
thank you to yourself, mate.
Yeah,
yeah, because it's you just put all the long
and a massive thank you to anyone that was at Hawk Place as well, and very Cheryl Williams. Yeah, just all the staff at Penryn House and Hawk Place, where I went to rehab. That's the place that got me clean and sober. The Penryn kept me clean and sober.
So what got you clean and one taught you how to live?
How to live. Yeah, because I think I went back to my mum's after rehab, and I think if I would have sort of just stayed there, it would only been a matter of time. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I think it gave you that level of sobriety where even if you thought about relapsing, you think, yeah, it's a long time to lose a year.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, I think you've smashed them and you're doing really well.
Yeah, I can't think who to get on the show.
No, it's horrible in it when you get put.
Do they have to be a fighter?
No,
you got to get Lee on it. You got to get Lee Daly on here.
Yes. Oh no. Yeah. So with anybody that so I'm gonna get people on that just fighters. Yeah. On in recovery, I'm gonna get people on just in recovery. Yeah. You know, he does a little bit of box exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
So he
enjoyed the kickboxing at me when he has it. So yeah, but yeah, Tony and Lee, they've inspired me to the high heavens in recovery, like the Joey. So,
and this is why I was saying before about the similarities. When I remember going in there, and Tony's my sponsor, and Lee and Tony both were groomsmen at my wedding, well, mine and my wife's wedding, and I never thought I'd ever have anything on with them, and I have so much. Lee's belt,
it's Anton, like genuine people down
there. They care about people, you can see that when people relapse and they genuinely get it, they're good people. My last question before we close the podcast is who's your favourite fighter and why? Doesn't have to be anyone local, it can be
I'll give you three, like past fighter, it's got to be Hoist Gracie, UFC legend.
Yeah.
There's a seminar on Thursday. He's coming down to Carnarvon. So get taught by him for like an hour or two, which I've been taught by him for.
I was going to say, I remember you getting a glove signed.
Yeah,
Because you were buzzing, you were on you had a smile for me.
So I recently got my blue band jet, so I'll get that signed as well. It's just nice, isn't it? And then, like, probably active UFC, probably Sean O'Malley. He lost his last fight, but I just love how, like, his style is just so, like, unique and fluid and that. And then I say Muay Thai, we've got to go, like, Rotang or Sanchai, probably. Yeah, I love watching Thai, though. Like, I prefer watching Thai to anything. They're just savages, man.
Yeah.
And Liam Harrison as well.
Yeah. It's from the Bad Company, that is, yeah.
I went down to Bad
Edmund Harrison.
and went with Joe Craven as a one-to-one with him, mate.
Because I watch a lot of their stuff on YouTube. They've started bringing out their lives again now with really good quality productions, and everyone from that gym is literally a savage. They are. They look sick. Okay, so that's it for today's episode on Fighting to Recover. A massive thank you to Charlie for being open, honest and vulnerable. These stories matter, and they're proof that no matter how far gone it feels, there's always a way back. If you're listening and you're struggling, you're not alone. Every fight counts and every comeback matters. Until next time, keep showing up, keep swinging, and keep fighting to recover. Thank you. Yeah, that was good, yeah?
Yes, lad.
Babe?
Fucking hell, that was long.
Fucking hell, how long is that going for?
It's fucking long. If you're not podcast that long.
Yeah, you do. Podcasts are like an hour and a half.
Oh,